What is going on, Player Profiler Nation? It's Mock Draft Live, and I'm here with my fellow New Age Alpha Dog, Matty Keywombs in the house, and we're here to do a single QB PPR Dynasty startup mock draft because we're on the tail end of Dynasty week. It's been a heck of a week. A lot of amazing content. I mean, we had Austin R. Martin's Dynasty startup guide drop today as the first piece or first part of the expert series in the articles. Cool. I was very excited. That was very exciting to edit and publish and produce. Like, that was really cool. Last night, as I was going over the finishing touches with that, Austin did a great job. So we're at the tail end of Dynasty week. This is like the grand finale.
Yes, sir.
Matty, these are fireworks are starting up. You can kind of see it. The momentum's going, and now we've got a mock draft with all the people tonight.
Oh, we have a full draft room. It is a 12-teamer PPR single QB with a little third-round reversal for each and every one of us. Because, sometimes you need to spice things up, especially like you're saying, we got a whole lot of Dynasty content that has been absolutely crushing the fantasy football space this past week. Oh, baby, I am excited to dive in tonight because your boy loves the mock draft here.
Oh yeah. So are we ready? Are we ready to get this thing kicked off? Or
I think
ready
we
to
are.
roll?
Let's
all right.
Do it.
Let's do it. Okay. Oh, you got it. All right. I was getting nervous.
30-second clock, which it's a little nerve-wracking. I ain't gonna lie.
Yeah. Could you just are you gonna slide it over or what's?
Oh yeah, I'll slide it over as it goes.
Okay, cool. Yeah,
so we can get a nice little clean, or I can even zoom out a little bit.
Yeah.
How we want. We run the ship, baby. Is this better?
Gotcha. Yeah.
Would you like a little more
I
zoomed
think so.
in?
I like it. I'm just I'm a warrior. That's why my friends call me Whiskers. So
because it's curious. Like
that. And wheezed. Oh, shame.
Oh, we had our first
shame.
Shame.
Oh my God.
Weazened. Now I am on the clock here.
Weazened, or I don't even know how you say that. Weazened 26 is now an auto. So Matty, we go chalk here. I mean, would you agree that the first 3 picks in a single QB startup are basically Chase, Jefferson, Robinson, and then it's a choice at 4? You went with Ceedee Lamb. Talk me through that.
Yeah, first and foremost, that's probably going to be chalk here in our 1 QB startups, where it goes Chase, Jefferson, Bijan. If I did have the 103, I would contemplate receiver. That's just because how I roll. I like kind of building my receivers to start. But I went Lamb because I just think that we've seen so much and we still have yet to see the ceiling. And he's one of those players that has all the traits skill-wise, but also all the traits in terms of ethic, in terms of evolution in their development. He had 935 receiving yards as a rookie, up that to 1,100, and then it was up to 1,359 last year. So seeing that progression in his development is exactly what I like to see. And I think the addition of Brandon Cooks is only going to further kind of push this Dallas offense to be better and better than it even was a year ago. And when I look at, some of the underlying metrics, 6th in yards per out run, 7th in yards per team pass attempt, give me Ceedee Lamb. He is my wide receiver 3 and probably my 3rd overall Dynasty asset in 1 QB.
Thank you. We were having some ridiculous conversations on the Writers Roundtable last week where I was on an island, Matty. I was on an island because I had the audacity to say that Garrett Wilson was not the Q, and this is not table talk. We have people. Come on, quit timing out.
I know. What is these auto drafts?
What is anyway? Well, we had on Keep Trade Cut, and I'd be hilarious if I picked them right here. But I don't think I'm going to. But I don't know. This is tough. Anyway, I will finish my thought later, but I have to concentrate.
You gotta make your pick.
I gotta.
Seth, take a second. You got 10 seconds left. Make your pick. What I'll say so far, though, I am shocked to see 2 quarterbacks off the board early, but at the same time, we just had the Dynasty startup for Dynasty Week with Matt Kelly, me, you, Aaron St. Dennis, Jason Allwine, a number of us here at Player Profiler, and I went QB in round 1. So I'm not completely shocked that it happened. I think it's decent strategy if you get the right one. In Mahomes, well, donk me, you got the right one.
Yeah, so I go. I'm going to talk about. I took him kind of because I want to talk about him, and on the Writers' Roundtable, I got caught up in the heat of the moment. I said, I would have Jalen Watt over Garrett Wilson, and after thinking about it, I can't go that far with it. But what I was saying is that Garrett Wilson, in no world is he the wide receiver 3. And my biggest argument for that was Ceedee Lamb is the wide receiver 3 in Dynasty. So, and you're not going to believe this, but I was on an island, Matty. I was all by myself on the island of Garrett Wilson is not the wide receiver 3 in Dynasty. I couldn't believe it. And then I had to remind everybody that Aaron Rodgers was bad last year. And, there's no guarantee that a 39-year-old quarterback is going to elevate or mesh with right away a 22, 23-year-old wide receiver, because you just look at the drop-off is kind of staggering. There were some good things. I was just kind of looking at Aaron Rodgers because I have to make a video. But he was 26th in QBR last year. His yards per attempt was way down. His true passer rating was number 12, accuracy rating number 12. But again, when you're throwing the ball short, it's going to be more accurate. It's just alarming to me. I think Rodgers obviously is an upgrade, but I don't know. I think he's going to be average. I don't think it's going to be this Aaron Rodgers of old. I think some people are trying to talk them into, is there one more MVP season left in him? And I just don't think we're going to get there with Garrett Wilson.
This is what I'll say about the Garrett Wilson talk. And if I was on that show with you, my friend, obviously, the New Age Alpha Dogs has each other's backs, but I would have been on your back, no doubt, with this one. Garrett Wilson's good. Don't get me wrong. You just took Garrett Wilson here. We'll talk. I have a question for you, but let me just put a pin on this. Okay. What makes me nervous about Garrett Wilson isn't that he's not good. He's very talented. He's very good at getting open. He has a lot of similar skills that Devontae Adams kind of displayed a lot earlier than Devontae Adams himself was able to display early in his career. But what made Seth, you're up because of third round reversal.
Yep. I got it. I caught it right away. I had my cue set. So I did pick. I did want to pick Jahmyr Gibbs there. So continue, though. I didn't want to. Sorry, I didn't mess up your flow.
Not a problem at all. But what makes me nervous about this is the Devontae Adams, the way he was able to just go crazy was, Rodgers would throw him the ball 4th and 1 from the 1. That is a level of trust that takes years. Will he have that trust in Garrett Wilson? It's possible. That's how good Wilson is. I don't know what just happened. Like a frog, literally was just about to jump out of my throat.
I choked on my own spit in a meeting earlier today, and it's like you know how it goes, and it's uncontrollable. There's nothing you can do about it. You're trying to have a professional moment, and you just can't because you're choking on your own spit, and you don't know why it happened. It just happens anyway. Sorry.
And that's what happened. But this is what I'll just put a pin on this real quick. Is it safe to say that Aaron Rodgers will just gel with Garrett Wilson? And if you believe that's to be true wholeheartedly, then why was it so important for him to bring along 2, not 1, but 2 of his former teammates, Allen Lazard and Randall Cobb? Now, I know you might be saying, well, they signed Lazard to lure him over. He didn't really bring him. Fair, but he's most certainly brought Randall Cobb. Randall Cobb was, he was on the golf course. I think he was set to retire. And Rodgers like, nah, my friend, come up to New York. I need another one of my guys. I don't know if it's super safe to say. Now, getting Garrett Wilson at the 2-1 and 1 QB is gorgeous. And in third round reversal, that's what the question I wanted to ask you right here, Seth. 1 QB, is the 112 the best spot because of when it's third round reversal?
Oh, I love the 112 and with third round reversal. I don't know if I'd go so far as to say I'd prefer it over the 101 just because of the capital. I mean, it's obviously it's better here than in a Superflex league, and Superflex having the 101 is almost not fair because it's that one of those top 5 picks or those elite quarterbacks. But yes, when it's third round reversal and you can start the way I started, I have no problem. Garrett Wilson in Dynasty at the wide receiver 6, 7, 8 range, sure, but not at wide receiver 3. And so taking him there, I have no problem with Amon-Ra. And then getting Jahmyr Gibbs there, I feel is a pretty good start where I can go in any direction I want to go. But to your point, yeah, I think it's one of the top starting positions in a third round reversal in a single QB league. I don't know. What's your favorite place to start? Is it the 112 if it's third round reversal?
I think third round reversal in 1 QB, it's absolutely 12. Now in Superflex, I don't like missing that first wave of 8 or so quarterbacks. So I don't really like I don't like doing that. I like to start kind of towards the front of the draft. But in 1 QB formats, give me the I like that 112 because let's look at your start here. I mean, Amon-Ra, Gibbs, and Wilson. That's an electric start. But someone in the chat here, Mr. Yang in the chat, he has a question for you. You like Gibbs over Walker in Dynasty?
That's such a good question. To me, I want exposure to all these players. And so to be very honest, I was up against the clock there. I noticed it with about 10 seconds, and we've got 30 seconds to make a pick.
Yeah,
so,
we are going fast and furious.
So I have Amon-Ra and Gibbs, and this is a PPR league, by the way,
yes,
too. So that we need to make that distinct. We need to make that distinction. So it's close in PPR. I lean slightly, I guess, to Gibbs, but I love Kenneth Walker. I mean, those are 2 players that I want to have on my dynasty teams, especially single QB. Yeah, so that's a great question. It's very close, but yeah, I also might have redraft on the mind too because I got all this correlation talk going on, and I probably looked at that and went, "Oh, we got to get some Dallas. We got to get some Dallas Detroit correlation for Week 17, baby." And in my underdog draft. So
if you can make that happen, but also come with Amon-Ra and Gibbs, you're kind of killing 2 birds with 1 stone. It might be a nice little strategy. You are on the clock. After you make the selection, I will hit a nice little pause on the draft, and then we can kind of talk about what we're seeing here in these first 4 rounds. So go ahead and make your pick, Mr. Sethy D. And then I'll hit the pause button. The pick is in, and the pause is in. So let's talk about these first 4 rounds. Let's zoom out a little bit too so you can get that whole draft board. Everyone checking us out here live. Got the whole draft board here. What do you think of your first 4 picks? How do you like this start?
I like it. I've got some really young players. Amon-Ra, I think, is a stud, a staple, dynasty cornerstone of a team. Getting him at the 112, I think is perfect. Garrett Wilson, again, another young receiver, is with Aaron Rodgers this year, and then who knows what they do at quarterback. So the quarterback situation's a little bit uncertain there. That pick, I think Wilson's closer to Waddle and Olave than a lot of people think.
Mm-hmm.
But taking the value there with Wilson at wide receiver 7 off the board, I think.
Yep.
Yeah, wide receiver 7. It was too good to pass up in that particular position. I do think getting Waddle and Olave, where those guys were donk me and FF. Speaking of donkeys, and FF and John Adams there got those players is really good value too. And then to Gibbs, we talked about Gibbs, young player in that Detroit Lions offense. David Montgomery's not going to be there forever, so in Dynasty, Gibbs could have this path to. I mean, Theo Greminger loves him to 100 targets in year 1. It's possible. So the upside is off the charts. And then Michael Pittman got a quarterback upgrade and is being slept on by a lot of fantasy gamers, in my opinion. So if Anthony Richardson's good, I mean, Michael Pittman's still only 25 years old. So taking the upside shot on Pittman there, I feel is really good as well. So what about you, man? What about your Lamb, Diggs, Herbert, Pitts? I like this from you right here.
So hitting the Lamb spot at the 104, we kind of talked about that to start off. And then as it came back, Diggs sticking around. And now I'm left with the decision, do I want to go with the guy who was just about 30 years old, or do I want to go a little bit younger? But I also think that there is a tier break with Stephon Diggs. If this was an actual draft, this would be a spot I would have traded back of because I like Diggs here, but I think there was a chance he might have wrapped around back to the 3-9. I mean, actually, no, third round reversal would have been horrible. So I would have had to make a decision. I think I would have traded back maybe if I could have jumped into like the 3-6, 3-5 and got, maybe a 6th-round pick and then make it work in the aggregate there. That would have been a move I would have tried to make happen. But I'm not worried about the Diggs being disgruntled. I mean, he's their best pass catcher, and he's truly their only threat as of right now. I mean, if Dalton Kincaid can become a consistent threat in that offense, I mean, he might be the second best, but as of right now, it's the Stephon Diggs show with Josh Allen and company, and they want to win. They have yet to get over that mountain. So I believe that they are going to put, all the eggs in the same basket that we're in 2022 for 2023. So 1,455 receiving yards, 110 catches for Stephon Diggs, 11 touchdowns. He's been a wide receiver, top 10 wide receiver on a points per game basis each of the last 3 years while a member of the Buffalo Bills. And when you look at the underlying metrics, team yards per team pass attempt, 6th, yards per out run, 3rd. Still pretty good. Still 8th in dominator rating. I mean, the guy can still play football, and I think he can play at a very high level. So I had no problem going that there. Herbert in the 3rd round, for me, I was all about it because I do think that Herbert is about to go crazy in 2023. I think there's a lot of positive touchdown regression coming to Turbo out in LA. So I was hyped to get him in the 3rd. And Pitts, I'm not a huge guy on Pitts. I would have much loved to see Mark Andrews fall 2 spots to me because Mark Andrews at the 4-4 would have gotten me going. That would have got the juices a-flowing, Mr. Seth. But Pitts here, I'm okay taking it because, of course, we've seen the 1,000-yard receiving season in year 1, and we're hoping that he can get back to that. So I'm hoping for a big year in Pitts. Is there a spot of your first 4 pick set that you might have traded out of if this was a live draft?
Yeah, if I can, and the reason for the Wilson selection is I think his perceived value is also higher than some of those other players. So that's probably a position that I would have looked to trade out of if I could move back a little bit into the 2nd round and maybe pick up a Waddle or a Lave plus. I would do that in a heartbeat. Maybe if somebody wanted to come up to get Gibbs there at the 3-1, I don't really see much difference between him and Walker, as we were talking about earlier, but I just lean Gibbs in Dynasty in a PPR format. So yeah, but in a Dynasty league, I'm always looking to trade back and I'm always looking to acquire value. And it's not really about the player names right now. For me personally, it's just like, where's the value and how can I get as much value as I possibly can? Just to speak on Kyle Pitts for a minute, I do think that we are in a place right now where there is a good discount on Kyle Pitts. This is a player. I think it's going to be really hard for him after that rookie season. Marcus Mariota, we talk about quarterback upgrades. It can't get much worse than that last year. So either one of 2 things is going to happen. Either Desmond Ridder is going to be bad, or they're going to be looking to upgrade the quarterback position next year. So in Dynasty, I'm all about the Kyle Pitts value. In redraft, he kind of scares me a little bit, but even there, I mean, he's fallen sometimes to the 5th, 6th round in some of these formats. So I'm surprisingly in on Kyle Pitts. I didn't think I would be, but just based on where the value is, I think I am.
Yeah, right. That's a great way to put it. And try to remember when it comes to Kyle Pitts, and if he's there when your turn is to pick and you're sitting with the cursor over the draft button, but you're getting those cold sweats, remember just a year ago, the value on Kyle Pitts. Try trading for Kyle Pitts in Dynasty just a year ago. It was damn near impossible. So if you need a tiebreak, you need something to push you over that edge to click that draft button. Just remember, if he comes out and puts up, not even, it doesn't have to be 1,000 yards. Let's just call it like 950, 5 touchdowns, racks up some catches, and just truly looks like he's back on that trajectory of being a stud, both in real life and in fantasy. That value is going to go through the roof, and you won't be able to buy. So keep that in mind when it comes to Kyle Pitts. Before we get started with the fifth round, get this thing. The chat's going crazy. Devious says Debo over Ayuk. Yuck. More like I yuck. Sorry, I couldn't pass up on that dad joke. And my man, FF scientist Aaron, just be happy there are no trades in the draft because Matty would be going savage mode. Aaron, if this draft was live and I could make trades, it would be a 6.5-hour draft today. It would take us a long time.
The Writers Roundtable Dynasty League's about to get cracking here soon, so I'm sure there's going to be a lot of trades in there. And it is full, people. It is full. I feel bad now. I have to in this position where I'm turning people away now, but it is full, so I apologize. And Kyle Pitts and Dick Butkus, right, Matty, in an elite category.
Dick is Mike Ditka. Which one is
Ditka? Mike
Ditka.
Ditka.
That's a good callback. All right, Seth, you ready to make your pick?
Yeah, let's do it, man. Well, I don't know. Let's see. Oh yeah, I did have it queued up. So this is this sleeper ADP always throws me off. But I think I have to, I had it in the queue, luckily. So this is a tier break for tight end for me. I feel like I'm getting, maybe you could argue that Kittle's also in this tier, but just getting a young tight end to pair with all these guys feels like the right decision. And the wide receivers kind of draft. Pittman was, I'm not the biggest Christian Watson fan. I know people are probably in the chat probably screaming at me to take Christian Watson, but I don't know. I think he's living off of a 4-week stretch where he got real hot there. And I just want to see one more year before I invest too heavily. It feels like we're getting him at his peak with Jordan Love. And I just don't know how that makes sense, but everybody seems to be against me with Christian Watson. Everybody in the industry and everybody in our chat on the Writers Roundtable makes for good content. So, I just don't get the Christian Watson hype, but especially going back to back with DJ Moore. I mean, come on, like it shouldn't even be a conversation between those two.
I mean, where I'm going with that DJ Moore love. I got through the roof DJ Moore love. Can't get enough of DJ Moore. Christian Watson. I will ask you this though. The thing that gets me a little confused is so many people are in on Christian Watson. A lot of people are in on Jaden Reed. If you're in on the pass catchers, you got to be in on the pass thrower, right?
You would have to be. Yeah, you got to be. If you're a Christian Watson fan, you got to be a Jordan Love fan. And I just don't know if we've seen anything from Jordan Love that makes me want to be a Jordan Love fan.
Yeah.
So that's kind of, you know what I mean? And I'm sure there's people out there that'll break down a throw that he made one time, but I'm looking at the stats and looking at just his body of work overall. I mean, and his college production, because we got to go back there too. Color me not impressed so far. So we'll see. We'll see, man.
In the chat, they're asking Jeudy over Watson. Would you do that?
Oh, see now what do we got to take? You got to bring up Jeudy. I don't really like. I
got
Jeudy.
Yelled at on your show.
Yeah, you did.
On the Writers Roundtable, but also 2 parts of this. Go ahead and tell everyone why I got yelled at, but also take this time to explain what's happening at the Writers Roundtable.
Oh yeah, I'll do the first thing first, and then I'll do the second thing second, because that's how my brain is able to function.
Categorize it, very teacher-like.
Yeah, just first, then next. So Jeudy and Watson is kind of like making me choose between anchovies and what's another food that's disgusting. I don't like it. Well, maybe some people like anchovies. I'm not, I'm just trying to make an analogy, and I'm doing a very poor job. We're doing a very poor job. I would probably go Godwin over both of those players. I'd probably, I mean, Russell Wilson has to be better this year, right? I would prefer Jeudy. If you're making me pick between those two guys, I trust in Russell Wilson to bounce back more than I trust in Jordan Love to show me something he's never showed me. So give me Jeudy, and the fact that who knows, there's a bunch of rumors before the NFL draft that they were going to trade one of those receivers. Maybe
Right.
Sutton's gone after this year, so that opens up more opportunities for a lot of those pass catchers. Out of all those receivers, I love Marvin Mims probably the most at his current value too. But yeah, so Judy's the answer. But there are receivers that are going later, like Godwin. I mean, I know everybody thinks Tampa Bay's offense is going to stink and Baker Mayfield. But again, we come back to value. We always come back to the center of the universe with where are these players being valued. And Godwin's shown me he can be an elite wide receiver in fantasy. So,
and you never know. I mean, they have thrown the ball the most each of the last 2 years. Tampa Bay has. Now, is that a lot of Tom Brady, or is that the offensive philosophy? I guess we'll truly find out in 2023. But yeah, I mean, if Jeudy or Watson for me, I am going to go Watson because I think there's a little bit more upside there. Whereas I think the downside's very similar to both players, but both going in the 5th round, I'm not mad at either one going those in the 5th round. So, overall, this is the rounds you got to take those guys. And if I think that Watson just has a little more of that, that U word that we like here at Player Profile, the upside there, Seth.
Yeah, I like the Watson profile is good. The Watson profile is really good. It's just I wonder if, and I don't, and again, the Christian Watson mob's going to come after me again, but I'm getting like, I don't know if I'm getting what's the receiver I'm trying to think of. He played for Tennessee or not Tennessee, Houston. Anyway.
Andre Johnson.
No. Come on now.
Chill out.
I don't know. Anyway,
chill the hell out.
All right. Hold on. I have to make a pick. Here.
Well, while you make your pick, I'll talk about my last pick. I went Quentin Johnston and then Aaron Jones. I will be honest, I would not have taken Quentin Jones if I didn't have Herbert. I don't know if this guy is going to be a true, NFL producer. There's a lot of things that I liked when he came out, but there are a lot of things, maybe even more, things that I did not like about Quentin Johnston. But he was at the top of the ADP queue. And since it's only 30-second clocks, I had to make a decision quickly. Give me that Stizzy. I like the Stizzy, the Justin Herbert Stizak. If Quentin Johnson pops Seth, well, then I really like it. And as far as Aaron Jones, he's not really a go-get-him type of dynasty asset because he's 27. He's over that age apex. But I did my write-up for him for the draft kit, and the world famous draft kit, ladies and gents, is on the horizon. So get ready for that because it's truly, truly special. Seth and I did a bunch for it, and we're just super excited and super proud to be a part of it. But one of my write-ups was Aaron Jones, and when you look at his underlying profile, his efficiency metrics, all of that is still very good. He's 15th in breakaway run rate, 12th in yards per touch, 7th in true yards per carry, 8th in the NFL amongst qualified running backs at yards created. So the man can still get it done. So I was okay making him my RB1. But making this type of pick, I talked about it with Alan Sislowski. There I go again. It's called him Aaron, and I got totally roasted for that horrible slip. One of the most embarrassing things of my professional career, calling him Aaron Sislowski. Alan,
really?
The man.
Worse than Ditka? Or not
Way
Ditka,
worse.
Butkus?
Way worse. Because at least Dick Butkus is a funny name.
Yeah, that is what a cool name. I think it's cool, but anyway.
Yeah. But I called Aaron Sislowski like an absolute bonehead. That was embarrassing. So embarrassing. And I got rightfully raked through the coals for that. Shamed up and down everywhere for that. But anyway, Alan and I were talking about pivot picks where you make these picks in these startups where once you make the selection, you kind of have to now go that path. So one of these examples was Ken Walker or Christian McCaffrey. When you take Walker, you have the flexibility to go productive struggle. If you go Christian McCaffrey, you're down the win now path. Taking Aaron Jones here was me going down the win now path. And then I followed up with Deontay Johnson, who I love this year. He's obviously going to catch more than 0 touchdowns. I think that's a foregone conclusion. So I like that pick there. But Seth, tell me about these last 2 picks that you made.
Well, Anthony Richardson has the upside that we're looking for at quarterback. Again, this is a quarterback with elite. I mean, he could come into the league and rush for 1,000 yards. I mean, it's very possible. And I also, with an added bonus there, so he has the upside of maybe a Fields, and I'm getting him a couple rounds later, and I get to stack him with Pittman, so that's kind of nice. Not that that's entirely why I made that selection, but then I feel like I'm stuck in between land. I've got a lot of younger players that are also, I feel like they're going to produce right away, and so that I think. And I was looking at Flowers, I was looking at Dotson, and I just really think Cooper has a few years left with Deshaun Watson. And what's startling to me about Cooper, and I know this is a dynasty show and a dynasty mock draft, but he's being drafted really high in redraft and in some of these higher stakes leagues. And that tells me that some of the sharper guys are in on Cooper this year. And so with Watson, I think there's going to be a lot of opportunity. Now they're going to have to crank up the passing because they were bottom in the league in passing, but I don't know if getting rid of Kareem Hunt, they still have Nick Chubb there. I don't know if that signals that they're going to pass more. They should, from an efficiency standpoint, they should throw the ball more, and I think they will. And I think Cooper is likely going to be the benefit of that, and getting him in the 7th round felt like a good sort of teetering on win now play. But I felt like my team is so young and could go any direction that I could have really made any pick I wanted to there.
In my opinion, getting Cooper in the 7th round is money in the bank for 2 reasons. One, he helps you win. The guy was still an absolute producer. He was top, like you said, 12 wide receiver last year on a points per game basis. I think he was fantastic last year. And the Browns are telling us, with all the moves that they're making, that they want to chuck the ball more. I mean, they went out and used basically a day. They spent a 2nd round pick on Elijah Moore. I know it's via trade. Still, to use a 2nd round pick to do it. So they moved. They moved a pretty high end draft pick to make it happen. And then they were, flirting with DeAndre Hopkins. They did draft Cedric Tillman in the draft. So I mean, they brought in Marquise Goodwin, who again, he's not a world beater, but that's just them further telling us that they want to chuck the ball. And Amari Cooper is him. I mean, Amari Cooper, people forget. I mean, he was one of the best wide receiver prospects of our generation. He's been a perennial 1,000-yard receiver. He's only missed that mark, I think, once in his entire career. I love this Amari Cooper pick for sure. And you know what? If something happens and your team's struggling, someone's going to give up a young prospect or a pick or the combination of the two to bring him aboard. So getting him in Dynasty in the 7th round, absolutely love it. Now, what about these next 2 running back picks? One of them I love. One of them I love. So go ahead and talk about these 2 running backs.
Oh, I mean, are you kidding me? I'm about to cut a promo right now. I think I just put the cherry on top of this team. I was like, oh, I'm doing all right. But then I saw how the board was going. I mean, this is a PPR league, right? PPR?
This was a full point PPR league. Yes, sir.
So I have 3 running backs now in Gibbs and Cook and Gibson, who all catch passes, who are all going to be pass catchers out of the backfield. And Gibson, I feel, is one of the for some reason, Washington decided we're not going to use this guy because, I don't know, he fumbles too much. I don't know. It's hard to fathom why they didn't use him the way they should have used him. But now they're talking him up. He's clearly better than Brian Robinson. And it's not an elite offense, but he's a younger running back, a first contract running back who has the profile that we want, who catches passes, who's been productive in the past, and getting him in the 9th round. I mean, come on. To pair with this team that I basically went, hero RB in a way with Gibbs, to pair him with these 4 pass catchers in St. Brown, Garrett Wilson, Pittman, Cooper, getting these pass catching running backs with a top 5 tight end in Hawkinson, or at least value wise, I took him as the tight end 5. I think those last 2 picks really make me like this team quite a bit. This start, I'm interested to hear what you have to say, but I'm excited about this team now.
So the reason why I went Mattison over Gibson there in the 8th round is for what my man Rob in the chat is talking about. He sent me a little something that the Washington Commanders are sniffing around Kareem Hunt. And if there's no truth to that, that's all well and good. But even if there's a little bit of truth to that, what that tells me is that this organization further wants to distance themselves from using Antonio Gibson a ton. So I went Mattison hoping that Gibson would fall back, but I should have known better because you're too sharp, Seth. You were not going to let that happen.
Yeah, I definitely wasn't going to take Brian Robinson over. And anyway, that would just be a Washington thing to do, wouldn't it? Just bring in Kareem Hunt, and now you've got Brian Robinson, Kareem Hunt, and Antonio Gibson, and then who knows what the usage is? It's probably just one big running back by committee situation that is not good for
We
any
want
of
nothing
those
part
running
of.
backs.
Yeah,
Yeah, it just
yeah.
makes you puke. So I just hope that one day Antonio Gibson can be free of Washington, because if that happens, I mean he's going to be an unrestricted free agent after this season. So we'll see if he can wind up in a spot where we really like. And oh, by the way, I'm on the clock again. Holy cow! How did that
Go
happen?
ahead, take some time. Go ahead, pick your next two picks because I got to talk about my last three selections. So I went Alexander Mattison 8-4, Roshan 9-9, and Ingram 10-4. Mattison, that pick there, I know there's a lot of risk when it comes to Mattison, but at the same time, there is a lot of safety when it comes to Alexander Mattison. He's only 25 years old. He's proven time and time again that without Dalvin Cook in the lineup, he can produce in this offense. Dalvin Cook, last time I checked, is not going to be a Minnesota Viking. The backups in this, the guys he'll be competing with, and Ty Chandler and Dwayne McBride, although I do like some of their talents, I think that they have some skills. There's really nothing there that screams that Mattison's going to lose out a ton as long as he does what he's supposed to do. So grabbing him there at the 8-4, I was okay with it because I think the downside's a little bit mitigated given the fact that where he went. So I was okay taking him. And in the 8th round, I mean, you look at the guys who went after him, Kendre, Kamara, Montgomery, Cook. None of those guys are really in line to be a bell cow in 2023, where Mattison could be. There's a lot of outs where Mattison is a bell cow right off the bat in 23. So give me him. And then I followed it up with Roshan at the 9-9. I got a little too cute, I'll admit. Okay, I got super cute here. I thought Dylan might fall back to me. I don't know why. I should have went Dylan, hoping that I'd get Roshan in the 10th. Got a little cute, went Roshan, but hey, I like Roshan in 23. Give me my guy. And then going Ingram, the reason I was excited to go Ingram there was because there was a tight end run. If you could see, there was 3 guys taken in the 6 picks between mine. So I felt like I needed to get in on a tight end, and getting a guy like Ingram puts my mind at ease a little bit because now it alleviates some of that pressure of having Kyle Pitts, where if you just leave Kyle Pitts naked and you don't take another tight end, even if it's not tight end premium, 2 tight ends starting, where the runs aren't super strong, in your more casual leagues, this will not happen much either. There won't be a lot of tight end run. The reason why I wanted to go there is now if there is some Kyle Pitts growth pains that maybe I was not super excited to see happen, I got my man Evan Ingram that I can put right in as we see what kind of goes on with Kyle Pitts. So I did that, and then taking Damian Harris here. I've been taking Damian Harris everywhere. Everywhere I can get Damian Harris, give him to me. He's really going to fit nicely in that Devin Singletary role. And I know Devin Singletary has not been a sexy fantasy option, but if you look at his career, he's a perennial 10-point-a-game guy. And it's a lot to do with that offense and a lot to do with the shootouts that they get in, and they use Singletary the most when they needed to win games, when they needed to milk the clock. Damian Harris is a better version of that, in my opinion. So if he's healthy on this team, I love Damian Harris for the Buffalo Bills. So those were wrapping up my picks here. It's starting to get down to the nitty gritty. We got about 20 minutes left in the show. So we're just going to keep the good times rolling. What do you say, Seth? Let's just keep this bad boy running, right?
Yeah, I just want to comment on what you said about Damian Harris. And while I do like James Cook, I like both of those running backs this year where they're being drafted because
They
James
complement each
James
other very nice.
it just feel like Buffalo's figured this out with their running backs. I mean, Damian Harris is a good player. I think Damian Harris is going to be a vital piece on a lot of redraft teams this year and Dynasty. And you can get him. I mean, you just took him in the 11th round. And I think that is a sharp pick, but I think he's in most dynasty leagues and most dynasty startups. I think he's going a lot later than that, to be honest with you. So I really like Damian Harris in Buffalo. I also like James Cook in Buffalo. He's got, in dynasty, he's younger and he's got the pass catching upside, but Evan Ingram, to talk about him. I mean, with Trevor Lawrence and that offense that's ascending, I mean, that's an offense that we could be talking about this time next year as right up there. I mean, maybe not in the same breath as Kansas City, but maybe in the a top 5 offense in the National Football League, and he might be a big part of that. I mean, I like where that offense is going with Doug Peterson. So I like what you're doing with your team. I mean, you're a sharp dynasty player for a reason, and yeah, so you got Lamb and Diggs and Herbert, and man, yeah. So this team's also ready to win right now. You're kind of doing a nice job with mixing in Roshan and Tank Bigsby, and it's really good. It's really good.
This is basically, so if you're in a league with me, this will be my strategy in most of my dynasty startups, where I will make the win now picks if I present value. If I see the value, I'm going to take it. I have to try to win now. I don't like losing. I'm a poor sport, if you will. So I do try to win. But you got to pepper in some guys. Tank Bigsby. Again, it's really just a play on grabbing a high-end handcuff. I'm not expecting a whole lot right away, but if ETN were to go down, I mean, all of a sudden it's fire up Tank Bigsby, and it wasn't long ago that we put him in the same category as Bijan and Jahmyr Gibbs and the elite running backs of this class. He's since faded after an amazing rookie or freshman year at Auburn at the SEC level. So, I'll take the shot on him, and now I'm seeing a run here of receivers that's making me a little nervous. You took 2 receivers that I really, really liked, but go ahead and make your 2 picks, and then you could talk about this run of 4, 10, 12, 11, 1, and then 12, 12, 11, 13, 1 after you make your picks, because I don't want to rush you. But seeing this run of Thomas Thielen is a guy to me. The Rich got him here at the 12-10. I'm starting to get really not hyped. I mean, how can you get hyped about an old man, an old dusty wide receiver? But there's a chance that he's a PPR monster, and you can get him in the 12th round of this startup. And there's a rookie in Bryce Young that we all like. I mean, the NFL left him. He went 101. And yeah, I know he's 33, but he's a guy who's caught in his career 14 touchdowns, 10 touchdowns. He's a touchdown magnet, and he's had over 700 yards each of the last 2 seasons. I don't know if he's going to be a stud, but I do kind of like some Adam Thielen here late. Now, you've just made these last few picks. Go ahead, break them down. Sutton all the way down to Geno as your QB2, which I'm sure you'll get into it, but I do love that pick for you.
Well, I have Anthony Richardson, right? And so Geno is just the perfect safe match that I can play Geno right away if I need to. I mean, heck, the guy finishes the quarterback 5 overall last year. Geno Smith, man, I mean, it's just so easy if you have DK. I mean, I don't understand really. I mean, Geno Smith has proved it to you last year, and they just did things to upgrade his situation, right? They got JSN. They, however you feel about it, they went out and got a pass catching running back in Charbonnet. They added more weapons to him and gave him a contract, paid him. I mean, maybe it's not as high as some of the other big name quarterback contracts, but they showed that they trust him, and he showed the upside last season. I don't really this is a player that I don't understand, and this is why if I'm in a dynasty startup like this, I don't necessarily mind. I had to take Richardson because he has the upside, but I don't necessarily mind waiting on quarterback because I know the Geno Smiths of the world are going to be sitting there for me. And if I take a DK or if I take JSN, it's really easy to stack and get that long-term stack as well with those guys. I mean, it's anyway. To speak to some other options, one move that I love to do in Dynasty is to buy the dip. And there's a big old dip on Cortland Sutton right now. We were really high on him. This guy was getting drafted in the 3rd round of underdog drafts last year. And I don't know exactly what's going on. Sean Payton has come into that situation. He's made some waves. I mean, the first big move is obviously trading up for Marvin Mims, which doesn't necessarily bode well for Sutton, or it maybe not his long-term future in Denver, but this is still a guy in, Cortland Sutton, who has done some good things in his career, and he's not necessarily he is at the age apex right now. He's 27 years old. He's got a good profile. And I don't know. I feel like at this stage in the draft, he's got some metrics I like. Number 21 in total route wins, number 23 in route win rate, number 10 in win rate versus man. He does some really good things running routes, 17th in air yards last year. It's just and then it doesn't translate in number 40 in fantasy points per game. So this is a receiver that I've always kind of liked, and maybe I'm a sucker for him, but he does some nice things, and getting him in the 10th round felt right. Algier, the perfect handcuff this year to Bijan, if you're not a Bijan believer. And then Mooney, I mean, DAWG Mooney. I love Darnell Mooney. And I know a lot of people think the Bears aren't going to crank up the passing volume, but they're going to pass the ball more this year. I think Justin Fields' college resume speaks to that.
Yeah.
So I think Mooney could benefit by slotting in as a wide receiver too, instead of playing that wide receiver one role he's had to play his entire career.
And you got to get a couple Bears. I mean, you're Sethy D, the Bears man. You got to take a couple Bears on your own right. So what do you say, Seth? Why don't you make these last two picks? We'll end this after round 15. We'll talk about our teams, talk about some of the other teams that we might like in this draft. So make your last two picks of the startup. And I'm going to chime in real quick on Cortland Sutton, because there are some rumblings that he's fitting in nicely in that Michael Thomas role.
Okay.
Take that as you will. But it does seem to be a role that is beneficial in fantasy football. So I do like Cortland Sutton. And in the long term, we'll kind of cross that bridge when we get to it, in my opinion. I think he's a talented receiver that could find work even outside of Denver. And if, Sean Payton gets more out of him than maybe he's gotten in his career, then obviously, whether it's Denver or not, he's going to play in the NFL. He's going to make it to his age 30 season or be relevant towards that. I mean, he's going to be 28 or so, right? 28 was, so he said 28.
He's 27 going on 28, which is honestly, when I looked it up, I honestly was a little surprised that he's that old. But, anyway, I thought he was a little bit younger than that, having not looked at Cortland Sutton's profile in a while. I mean, and man, time flies. But I mean, he is right at the age apex. It's kind of now or never for him. So we'll see. I mean, it's a shot that I'm willing to take is what the point I was making.
And I think that is a good point to make, for sure. And then when you talk about Mooney and the Chicago Bears offense, people kind of sleep on the fact that the Eagles only threw the ball the 23rd most times per game in the NFL. They went from 29 to 23. It wasn't like they went from 29 to 2. They made a realistic jump up, and with that came a ton of fantasy production from a number of their guys, including DJ Moore or would have been AJ Brown and Devontae Smith. Now, do I think Mooney is as talented as them? I'm going to get auto drafted here, so let me just go with Deboot. Why not? But I don't think Mooney's as talented as Devontae Smith at all. I'm not going to say that. I can't say that with conscious, not start laughing here in the pod, but I do think there could be a jump up here. Would it be? And is it worth taking a shot at the 11th round on that jump? Yeah, I think it is. So, Seth, you made your last two picks. Go ahead and talk about them, and then we'll land this bird.
All right. Well, Wan'Dale Robinson in the 14th round. I mean, this is a guy they took early in the second round, on the borderline of early, with the 11th pick in the second round. He's still only 22 years old. And it's another guy, that in this ambiguous wide receiver room in New York that could emerge as, right behind Darren Waller as maybe the number 2 target in that offense. We'll see. I kind of like Hodgins, to do that. Maybe I don't know. I think if later in this draft, I would have been, interested in taking Isaiah Hodgins, because I think he did some really nice things last year for that team. And then, my guy, the ultimate truther, the ultimate hero stand for Mike Gesicki because of the profile. And I don't necessarily think the New England landing spot is all that terrible for him. I know
think it's pretty good.
I know they have Hunter Henry there, but I mean, what's the target competition? And Mac Jones. What is going on with Mac Jones? Did he even get drafted in this draft? Mac Jones is not a terrible player. I mean, think of the New England Patriots last year. Their offensive coordinator was the rocket scientist who had only been a defensive coordinator, right? You remember that was Al Michaels' thing. He always says like, "Oh, Matt Patricia one time, oh, he was a rocket scientist at, who knows university or WGFU." Apparently this guy was, building rockets, but he couldn't build an offense. Let me tell you, to save his life. I mean, this was it's hard to say this about New England, but it was dysfunctional last year. And now you bring in a Bill O'Brien's a grown up. I mean, despite what you think of Bill O'Brien, that's an upgrade, a big one. That's a much bigger upgrade than Aaron Rodgers in New York. Let me tell you, Bill O'Brien to, from Matt Patricia to Bill O'Brien is a bigger upgrade than, Mike White to Aaron Rodgers, in my opinion, but that might be a hot take.
That's a good hot take. It's a great hot take.
That quote that one. I'm the producer for this show. We're clipping it, baby. We're clipping it. It's going all over social media, and why not stay on brand? So I think Mike Gesicki is in a prime position to see a bunch of targets and to see a bunch of reds. I mean, I remember looking up in Miami and I remember middle of the season he was the tight end 3 one year. So he's capable of putting up this big week. So why not in the 15th round in a league like this? But even though I already have Hawkinson, I need somebody to play when I can't play Hawkinson. So why not Mike Gesicki?
I have a few things that I'd like to add to this. Okay. First and foremost, let me just start by saying that Mac Jones is my flag plant player for 2023. It's a good one. I took a swing on it. You can catch it at the Player Profile Twitter page. The video was posted today, and it's for a number of the reasons you just said.
It'll be on the YouTube page here soon. I got to schedule those to be posted. It's on my to-do list. Those will be all over YouTube. So pretty soon.
But no, you touched upon a lot of the reasons. He was accurate in college. He had a great deep ball last year, even though he had a buffoon for an offensive coordinator. Now he gets a real offensive coordinator in here. And let's face it, we could see D-Hop go there. And all of a sudden, that's a formidable offense. Juju Smith-Schuster, the 2 tight ends, Tyquan Thornton, and Kevin, I can't think of his name. Kendrick Bourne on the outside. Devontae Parker running deep. DeAndre Hopkins, Juju Smith. It's good. It's a decent offense. So I like Mac Jones.
I like it if they add Hopkins though. If they add Hopkins, that'd be now you're cooking with gas.
As a Patriots fan, very excited about that. But I also want to add one last thing about Bill O'Brien. The last time he was the offensive coordinator of the New England Patriots, it was the record-setting season that Rob Gronkowski put together. He had 1,700 receiving yards, 70 touchdowns, something like that. It was an absurd season. But also in that campaign, Aaron Hernandez had 700 receiving yards and 7 touchdowns. Now, do I think that Hunter Henry and Mike Gesicki are those 2 caliber of tight ends? Absolutely not. But schematically, we could see production out of both tight ends. And if you want to call a spade, Hunter Henry's been a better player in his career. Mike Gesicki is a better athlete, probably better pure pass catcher. So having said that, grabbing him where you did passing or pairing him up with TJ Hawkinson is a pretty good move. So we got about 7 minutes left, Seth. Why don't you go ahead and talk about your team and then talk about your team quick and then talk about another team that you really like and what they did, and I'll do the same to wrap it up. You think you're on mute, my friend?
I did it. You can cross it off. Whatever people used to play.
The tic-tac-toe game Seth finally did it.
We should juice these live streams up a little bit. Have a little wager. Have a little wagers going.
Betting wagers. Which one of these guys are going to mess up?
Yeah.
Is he going to call his guest Aaron Seslowski when his name's Alan?
I don't think. Oh, do you? You see what I did there? But anyway, So we juice these live streams. First person to do what I did has to put $5 in the community pot. And I don't know. This is just me spitballing about where we could go with this, Matty. This is just an idea. I've had this idea for a minute now, and I'm not ready to give up on it.
Okay. He did it again. Oh, your mic's busted, I think. Check your wire, Seth, because it's not working. But what I'll do is I'll step. There it is. Okay.
That's my fault. I'm getting notifications that are muting my mic for some reason. Hopefully it doesn't happen again. But anyway, so back to what I was talking about. Starting this modified, I guess, hero RB rather, with Gibbs, and then getting the running backs that I got later. I kind of talked about that. I was very excited. That's probably the most excited I've been. I was in this draft, is getting these 3 running backs because of the upside in year 1 with them. And I'm like you. I used to be this productive struggle guy. I am very much a win now and draft young players to win now and later. So I feel like I was able to do that. I was able to get younger players that are going to help me win now and in the future. Anthony Richardson, a lot of risk there. Alleviated the risk with Geno Smith, right? And then getting some wide receivers late like Sutton and Mooney that have some upside. I think Mooney has a lot of upside in the Bears offense this year. And Algier, the perfect handcuff to Bijan Robinson. And I'm not, I think Bijan will be great. I don't know if he's Saquon great. So we'll see. I think Algier still has a role in that offense. And we talked about Gesicki and Wan'Dale Robinson. Again, just shooting for the upside, betting on a talent profile in Gesicki that I believe in, that I still believe in, that I'll probably never give up on until it's too late. But hey, you gotta take your stand somewhere, and I'm taking my stand on Mike Gesicki. So in regards to a team now, okay, let's see. Which team did I like here? Oh man, why don't you talk about your team, and then looking for a team that I liked.
So my team kind of went pretty chalky for how I typically build my rosters in 1 QB leagues, where I was very wide receiver heavy at top, and then just kind of smash the running back button over and over and over again. Getting Mattison Jones, and then I just went Roshan, Damian, Tank, just really hammered it out at the end. Getting Jordan Love. I think if I had to pick here, I might. I don't know if I want to go Kirk Cousins or Jordan Love. I think if I were to go Herbert early, I'd go Love. Give me the younger asset, give me the younger backup, and then I can just kind of use Herbert for the most of the time throughout his career. So this is pretty chalk for me, getting elite receivers at top. Like I said, Quentin Johnston, it was really just so I could pair it up with that stack. Kyle Pitts, kind of back that up with Evan Ingram, which I think is a must if you draft, if you're in a 12-team startup and you're able to get and Evan Ingram, or even David Njoku, even Dalton Schultz a few rounds later. Just give yourself a chance to have a winning roster, even if your players that you took at the top kind of bust out. So that's kind of was my strategy. The team I'd like to talk about, though, that I think absolutely killed it is our boy John. Our boy John Adams.
That's who I was gonna pick.
We'll talk about it then. Let's just talk about his. So I think this guy killed the draft. John, I mean, it makes sense. He is our mock draft coordinator here. He does put together these mocks. He's in a ton of them. But I think, in my opinion, he slayed it. He goes hero running back, gets McCaffrey, the best win now hero running back that there is, follows it up with 2 very good young wide receivers. He did go Justin Fields, which I think brings some risk early, but he follows it up with Daniel Jones, kind of alleviates that risk, kind of that same strategy that you deployed. He waited on tight end, which I think after having seen this play out, I think Okonkwo in McBride, if one of those hit, John is going to smash in this league. Jeudy as his wide receiver 3, Kirk and Lockett, the 2 best the most unsexiest picks you can get, but absolute mega producers. Love it. Getting Connor in the 9th round. John, you killed it. What are your thoughts on this absolute behemoth of a squad?
Oh, dude. He did a nice job also kind of combining. I mean, it is a win now team, but he's got Olave, he's got Higgins, he's got Fields, he's got, Akers as a first contract running back. Kirk is not an old player. I mean, he has some, don't get me wrong, he's got McCaffrey and, Tyler Lockett and James Conner, but Okonkwo is a younger guy. And then, like you said, perfect utilization of quarterback drafting strategy in a single QB. Okay, yeah, it's going to be a risk taking Justin Fields in the 4th round, but the upside is literally quarterback 1 in all of fantasy football. So why not make that pick? And then, if that doesn't work out, Daniel Jones is a safer option in the 11th round. So, like you said, I really loved it. If I can have a runner-up maybe, and as I'm looking around, I don't want to, leave anybody out, but this Hodges 2616. I know he timed out and took Josh Allen, so I don't know if he'd want to do that over again. But getting Breece Hall there, getting Tony Pollard, these 3 running backs with Addison, Calvin Ridley, Juju, and then he took some shots here. If any of these wide receivers hit, like Sky Moore, Thomas, I don't really like, Romeo Dubes, but I'll leave that to somebody else. But getting David Montgomery too, I mean, maybe the David Montgomery pick was a bit redundant because he's already got some, win now running backs. But I mean, it's more depth and he can play him in his flex. I don't mind this team either with Hodgins. Maybe if Kincaid hits, I kind of like it. I don't know what you think about that squad, but that was kind of my runner-up as I was looking at it. I also like this Nicholas team over here. Maybe I do like, but Nicholas, man, no, never mind. I do like that Nicholas team.
Nicholas team's a good win now roster.
Yeah,
I like that. And then, John's in the chat. Shout out to you, John. He said he swung and missed on the DJM stack. If he could have gotten DJM at the 5-6 instead of Jeudy, whoa. What a draft that would have been. But either way, it was a great draft by him. I think he killed it. And I think that was a great show, if I may say so myself, Mr. Seth. Let's do it, baby. Let's land this bird.
Yeah, let's do it. Do you have anything to plug, Matty? What's going on in your neck of the woods? What's happening for you?
Well, I just want to plug the Game Plan, Trade Gods. Those are my shows. Comes out Thursday nights, Saturday afternoons. But I just really want to remind everybody to get ready, strap in for that world famous draft kit. We've put a ton of work into it. Truly blood, sweat, and tears type of effort, and it is going to smash. So make sure you get ready for that.
It's unlike anything else anybody else is doing right now in the fantasy football industry. So you want to get your hands on it. Stay tuned for, and this is what I was going to say earlier, Dynasty, the Dynasty Roundtable. The Writers Roundtable is being rebranded to the Dynasty Roundtable. A lot of thought went into this, a lot of conversations with Matt Babbage and Theo Greminger, our head of content. So be tuned in on Wednesdays, 7 p.m. for the Dynasty Roundtable. And we may have a special guest coming on in the next couple weeks. I'm going to tease it. I don't know if I should give any more hints because I don't want to ruin it,
Let me just say this. It will be a truly new age alpha dog type of show.
I think that's the show, Matty. Good night, everybody.
Hey, you like that video? Be sure to subscribe and activate those alerts so you get notified as soon as new videos drop. And be sure to check out playerprofiler.com. We have all the tools for you to dominate every type of fantasy league. We have a draft kit, Dynasty Deluxe, data analysis, DFS Dominator, and don't forget the player rankings to rule them all.